Well, hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here with Mike McFarland, who is the Texas State Faith Director at Citizens Defending Freedom. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mike. I'm so glad you could be with us.
It's an
We've
honor to be
got an
here.
exciting, so we've got an exciting show today. We're going to be talking about Citizens Defending Freedom has established the Responsible Fatherhood Campaign that reinforces the vital role fathers play in the well-being of their children, families, and communities. So I'm really excited to have him talk to us and share with us all of the things that Citizens Defending Freedom have done. But before he goes into that, I would love for Mike just share with us who is Citizens Defending Freedom in case there's anyone on here who doesn't know about them and doesn't know how the organization works or who the organization is. The thing that I love about the topic today is it's not just a local or state thing, but the initiative is a worldwide thing. So, but again, before we do that, please share with us about Citizens Defending Freedom.
Sure. Well, Citizens Defending Freedom, a lot of people identify themselves as a faith-based organization. We're not a faith-based organization. We are a Christian organization. Okay. And we're Christians first and patriots second. But our mission is to equip and empower American citizens to stand for and preserve freedom for themselves and future generations by resolving breaches of liberty through local awareness, local light, and local action. So a lot of organizations, they work at the national or state level. Where you have the most power at your local level, the city and county and then state. And too many people focus on the national and they don't go to their school board meetings or their local county commissioner meetings or their city council meetings. But more importantly than that, we want to educate the American citizen on the value of the gospel of Jesus Christ and its influence on America's founding. Because all we hear about in the media is separation of church and state. America was founded by a bunch of atheists and deists, and that's a big fat lie. The truth is, this country was founded from a biblical worldview.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And when we get to after we go through the campaign that you guys have started for the Responsible Fatherhood, I definitely want you to share more about some of the resources that you have for things like the Patriot Academy. And there's so many things, so many resources that people can get in contact with regarding some of those things. So please talk to us about this fatherhood campaign because this is such a great campaign and you have already made some really great progress. So share with us about what it is and how it works.
Well, sure. And I've even got some slides I can pull up in a minute that, showcases some of those wins. But, here at Citizens Defending Freedom, we came up with a simple but very powerful idea. And that's to designate June as Responsible Fatherhood Month, have it proclaimed at the city, county, state, and even federal levels. We want to make June known as Responsible Fatherhood Month. And the reason is simple. Kids need their dads. When fathers show up, kids thrive. When dads are missing from the picture, kids face tougher roads. And the numbers tell a very heartbreaking story. The United States Census reports that 1 in 4 American children live without a biological step or adoptive father in their home. And this crisis affects communities in every state across this great nation. The impact's very devastating, though. Children without fathers are more likely to live in poverty, drop out of school, experience teen pregnancy, and be incarcerated. In fact, I think the number is 85% of all juveniles that are incarcerated come from a fatherless home.
Wow.
So here's another scary statistic. You know, everybody talks about how great the United States is compared to other countries. The United States has the highest rate of single parent households in the world. It's more than 3 times the global average. And what's scary is father's absence is on the rise. And that's driven in part by the fact that approximately 40% of US births now happen outside of marriage. But there is good news about what involved fathers do bring to the table. You know, kids with engaged dads are more likely to excel in school. They face a lower risk of ending up behind bars and are less likely to suffer from mood disorders such as anxiety or depression. And that's why prioritizing responsible fatherhood is so important. If we do that, we could save taxpayers billions of dollars each year in related social and economic costs associated with poverty caused by fatherlessness.
And who doesn't want to save money?
Well,
Right?
yeah, well, you know, it gives them more control. You know, it's they talk a lot about toxic masculinity. If they can take the dad out of the picture, his job is to protect the family.
Yeah.
And when the family doesn't exist, then the community suffers and the
Yeah.
state suffers and the nation suffers. And that's just one economic factor.
Yeah, for sure. And so when do you think, just speaking about and sharing some of these statistics, and I know there's a lot of work to do as far as the restoration of fathers and fathers taking their responsibility and things like that. And I applaud the fact that you guys are even working on really initiatizing that fathers need to be responsible. I think that's the biggest key here. But when do you think, or at what point do you think there was a breakdown where we started to see families, uh, less families with mothers and fathers, where it became more of, you see now single mothers raising their children, and you even see now grandparents raising children? When do you think the breakdown of the family began to happen? Like what's some insight there?
Well, it, since the beginning of mankind, you know what we're in a spiritual war, and the enemy, Satan's been trying to divide families since the Garden of Eden, honestly. So it's been going on a long time. But here in America, I would say it really got a foothold in the early 1900s, 16 or 1916, with Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood. You know, the goal there was to eliminate anyone who's black in America, and they started off by uh, breaking apart that family unit. And then in January of 1963, I forget the exact date, I think January 13th, 1963, they read into the congressional record the communist goal to destroy America. And one of that is to destroy the family unit, because they know if they can separate the family unit, they can destroy the community, the state, and the nation. And the strength that built this country, it was built on families, uh, can be destroyed. So it's been going on my entire lifetime for sure.
And I will say, just to share, I know we were kind of talking a little bit earlier, because I myself do a lot of, I like to research and kind of look back at some things. And I remember having a conversation with my mom. Growing up when I was very young, we were living, at the time, we lived in a northern state, and my parents were going through a hard time struggling financially. And she told me, she said, the only way that we could get help was, they told us that we had to be separated. So there was no financial assistance for a family. It was, you had to be divided, like you had to be separated. So in order for my family or my parents to be able to get any assistance, my father, they had to actually show that they had separated, which they didn't separate, but they had to live in two separate places so that they could get assistance. So that, and we were talking about that earlier, and to me, I was just like, what do you mean there's no assistance unless you got separated? So speak to that a little bit, because I know that you had mentioned that earlier. We were talking about that as a
Well,
perfect example of the system separating families.
yeah, and that was probably in the 70s.
Yes, it was.
Roe versus Wade was in the early 70s, the destruction of the family unit. When we do things God's way, we get blessings. When we don't do things God's way, we get curses. And Deuteronomy 28 addresses that. So when we listen to God's voice and do what he says, and we design the family according to God's design, we have blessings. But when we destroy God's design, we get curses. So what we're witnessing is the byproduct of the spiritual drift in America. And that's why it's so important for God-fearing people to get involved and vote according to their values. It's pretty scary when you realize that of Americans who identify as Christians, only 50% are registered to vote.
Wow.
And of that 50%, only half of those vote in the general election. So that's only like 25% of people who claim to be Christian are voting their values. The other 75% are voting for what the enemy wants due to their silence,
Hmm.
because we, the people, are part of the government. It's all about the consent of the governed. The Declaration of Independence talks about that the government is formed by the people through their consent. Well, when you don't vote, silence is consent. So, it's pretty sad that we've allowed that to happen in the
Yeah.
greatest country.
Yeah. And it is also the responsibility of the church. So I absolutely agree with you on that. I think that if we're going to see anything change, we have to do our part. We cannot be silent. I think I was Bonhoeffer. I think it was, if I pronounced it right. He was the one who said it was because of the silence of the church that all of these atrocities took place. I mean, do we want to see that same thing happen here in America? No. So we have to stand up and we have to be a voice. We have the opportunity right now to be a voice. So, yeah. So
Yeah.
share with us the statistics that you have.
Well, sure. I just want to interject in there what we've seen by not honoring God's values. And Malachi 4:6 sums it up. And it says, and he will turn the hearts of fathers to their children and the hearts of children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the land with a decree of utter destruction.
Yeah.
That's how important the family unit is and how important fathers are.
Yes.
So,
Well, and I like to say it like this too. God created families before a church was even created. Families, a family. He created a family. So that is how important it is. Absolutely, 100%.
well, the jurisdiction is, self governance, and then the family unit, family governance, then church governance, and then civil governance. So, one of the things, because we've remained silent, I talk about the three P's. The American church in general has fallen asleep at the pulpit, the pew, and the polls. And that's why we're experiencing what we're experiencing.
Yeah. And that
Because we've
definitely
been
has to change.
silent for too long.
Yeah, it has to change. And so share with us, I knew you were going to share with us some slides about the presentation for, again, this father's turning this month of June into Responsible Fathers initiative that you have.
You bet. Let me find the right button to present with here. Bear with me. I'm not familiar with this platform, but I'll get there. I'll figure it out here in just a second. Let me know when you can see it. It's
while
taking
you're while
it's
you're
taking
pulling
a
that up,
moment to populate.
I did. I do have a couple of that scripture. I actually had pulled that scripture up before we even met today, the Malachi 4 and 6. And then also Proverbs 23 and 24. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice. He who fathers a wise son will be glad in him. Okay, here we go. I think
Well, and the
something's
Ten Commandments tells us to honor our father and our mother, and we don't see a lot of that going on anymore either.
no.
So
There we
I
go.
already talked about our mission. Can you see that?
Yep. And I'm gonna do this really
Awesome.
quickly.
Awesome. I've already talked about our mission, but Responsible Fatherhood, we launched this last uh, June in 2025, and Corpus Christi, Texas was the first uh, city in Texas to proclaim June as Responsible Fatherhood Month. They did it again this year on June 2nd. We have put together a Responsible Fatherhood toolkit that, you know, no matter what community you live in the United States of America, you can download this toolkit and and effectuate change in your local jurisdiction. So last year we had Corpus Christi, Texas, and Robstown, Texas.
Yay!
So that was our first start, and we kind of learned the hard way that you need a couple of months in advance. It's hard to get people on board after June has started because a lot of these proclamations are arranged and calendared by the city or the county a month or two in advance. So we put together a toolkit that anybody can use. Um, we also were able to get Nueces County, Texas to proclaim June as Responsible Fatherhood Month. They did that right before June on May 27th this year. But what's really exciting is we've had a lot of other people download our toolkit, and I'll get to that in a minute. So if you go to citizensdefendingfreedom.com/fatherhood or cityoffaith.com, you'll come to this page. You click on the Responsible Fatherhood Toolkit, and it will take you to the Responsible Fatherhood Campaign page. And our mission is to make June Responsible Fatherhood Month nationwide. So, as I mentioned, in 2025, we did Corpus Christi, Robstown, and then, of course, this year we did Corpus Christi again and Nueces County. But we've also this is just a small list. Llano County has proclaimed it, Brownsville, New
Wow.
Braunfels, Cibolo, El Paso City, and El Paso County, Cedar Park, Somerset. Some of the ones I don't even have an up to date list because this week we've had so much going on.
It's so
It's
awesome.
been amazing, and since we put that toolkit up, so so last year we launched it here in Corpus Christi. We had some traction also in Florida, but if you look at our map on our website, all the red ones are states where people downloaded our toolkit. So
Wow.
there may be proclamations out there we're not even aware of.
That's
But
amazing.
what we've done since June of last year to now, and this report is a couple of weeks old, so I know a lot has changed, but we've had 42 approved cities and counties. That's a 2,100% increase over last year. We've got 48 in progress. A lot of those have moved, and the 42 has gone up from there. But total jurisdictions we've had engaged are 90. That's a 4,500% increase over last year. and 20 states with active campaigns. So that's very exciting for us. We've come a long way. And as I was mentioning earlier, in the Declaration of Independence, it talks about the consent of the governed. And coming up on, this coming Saturday is July 4th, where the Declaration of Independence was celebrating 250 years. They wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident," and that's a, they spoke much nicer back then. But what that really means in today's language is any idiot understands that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. And the
Mhm.
problem is, if we say nothing or we don't vote, our silence is the consent.
Yeah.
And the statistics we talked about earlier, that it's sad that we've allowed our country to drift this far. And what CDF exists to do is to inform you, prepare you with tools and resources so that you can be engaged in your local community.
And so I have a lot of people who have watched my show, or just I'll have a lot of contacts with people in other states. So if they're in another state, the toolkit will help them to be able to go to who do they go to, like their city council, or how does that work? What's the process?
Well, the process is, yeah, you can go to your city council. We've got scripts pre-written with a lot of the information that I've already shared with you. Let me unshare my screen real quick. Bear with me. Next time we do one, I'll be more informed on this platform. I appreciate your patience.
No worries,
But
it's fine.
but what what you can do on fatherhood, there's two things that I guarantee you, wherever you're sitting in the United States of America, your community has a responsible fatherhood challenge. We don't understand the sacred call of fatherhood and how powerful that is. So you can do something with this toolkit. We're towards the end of June, so we've kind of missed our window for this year. Uh, but next year you can get started in March, and go to your city council, read the script before them. A lot of the information I've shared with you tonight are in that script. We've already got the proclamations. When you download the toolkit, you'll get a copy of the proclamation. You just fill it in for your city name or your county name, and everything else is done. We've done all the heavy lifting.
That's
Our
awesome.
job is to provide you with tools and resources that you can engage in, that are tried, tested, and proven to be effective. We had several communities in Texas this year that downloaded the toolkit long distance, went and read the script at the city council, and uh, and then get a call back. Yeah, we're ready to do this.
That's
Who's not for responsible fathers, and who's not for saving billions of dollars in
right.
social welfare and
Yeah.
keeping kids out of jail,
Yes.
and,
Um,
and even teen suicides up. But that's a lot because of the breakdown of the family unit.
yeah. So with the toolkits, well, actually, with the states that you showed that map that are engaged, are those their particular cities, particular counties that are engaged based off of what you showed there, or how does that work?
Well, the ones I'm aware of, we've got proclamations all across Texas, Florida, Georgia, Virginia, and Michigan that I'm aware of. The
Okay.
other states are people who went and downloaded the toolkit.
Awesome.
And if you want, I could take you to the webpage and just show you how that works if you
Yeah,
want
I
to
think
do
that would be great. Why not? Yeah, I think that'd
uh,
be
before I do that, uh, let me share my. Is it okay if I share my contact information?
absolutely. Yes.
Uh, that way,
Yes.
if anybody had any questions, they could shoot me an email. Let me find it here. There we go. I've about got the hang of this sharing on this platform now. Let me know when you can see it.
Okay. I think it's coming up now. There we go.
So if you scan that QR code, it will actually load my contact info into your phone. If you're on an iPhone, you just scroll to the bottom, add as a new contact, and then click the check mark on the next screen. And if you're on Android, you just add as a new contact. But it's pretty simple and easy.
Awesome.
But mcfarland at ccdfusa.com, and that's my contact info. And then let me pull up our website real quick and share that. And let me know when you can see that.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, so the Responsible Fatherhood Toolkit is located at citizensdefendingfreedom.com/fatherhood. And it goes through a lot of the information I provided earlier. This is the uh, states that are established, engaged, and then states that where actions needed. Uh, Here's a bunch of reports of the fatherhood proclamations across the country. Um, and So you scroll down to the Responsible Fatherhood Toolkit, fill in your name, first name, last name, state, zip code, enter your email, and then you click Get the Toolkit, and it will take you to uh, a download file where you'll download a zip folder. There's a lot of information in there. You want to do this on your computer rather than your phone because it's a big file, and download that and uh, unzip it, and then you've got access to social media, graphics, once again, the proclamations, the scripts to take to your city council or county commissioners meeting or whatever it's called in your jurisdiction or state you're in. Um, and that's just one of the toolkits. The other thing I was talking about earlier that you can do, we have a lot of tools and resources. If you go to our resources page at the top, click on resources. Um, all sorts of amazing resources where it's plug and play. You don't have to figure it out. Some states it's state specific because the rules in Texas are different than the rules in Florida. But
Right.
we CDF has a physical presence in Texas, Michigan, Florida, Georgia, and Virginia at the moment. But you
Wow.
can use a lot of these resources in other states as well. I guarantee you, you've got a fatherhood crisis, no matter where you are in the United States, and that your libraries are full of sexually explicit material that is not proper for your kids to be reading, and you need to get those books out of the library. So
Yeah.
just those two things is you can get to action on that now. You don't need CDF present to do that, but we
Yeah.
can coach you through the process.
Yeah. And now you guys meet, talk to us about here locally. Um, can anyone come to a CDF meeting? How does that work? Citizens Defending Freedom.
Yes, here in New Yes, here in Nueces County, we've got, um, I'm going to want to put up another QR code for you, just so if anybody wants to reach out to us, this would be a good time to do it. But here in Nueces County, we have a meeting on this third Tuesday of every month, and we rotate out through different churches. In fact, our next meeting is, we look at a calendar here, is going to be July 21st, and it's going to be at Harvest Tabernacle, which happens to be your church. So,
Yes.
so we'll be
That's
meeting at your church at 6:30 on the 21st of July.
okay. Great. That's really good. You guys, people can, um, anybody can come to these meetings, right? It's not, there's no fees or anything like that for people to come.
No, there's no fees. It's just updates on what's going on here locally. We also have a monthly Zoom meeting here in the state of Texas, where the Texas team puts on different trainings. I'm going to pull up another QR code so that if anybody on this uh, meeting would like to connect, it's designated as Texas. I realize that you go outside of Texas, but I'm going to put this QR code. If you'd like to learn more about CDF, you can do that. And then also the benefit is if you want to learn more, we can plug you into our database so that you receive national and Texas based emails, calls to actions, and announcements when our next Zoom meeting is, so that you can stay plugged in.
Great. And if someone like in another state, maybe there's not a CDF presence, do you guys work with people to establish a CDF, or how does that work?
Well, we are 100% donor funded. We're a nonprofit Christian organization. So, if there were enough resources to be raised to launch another state, it's possible.
Okay.
Uh, but you know, you've got my contact information. You can always reach out to me, and we'd be happy to talk to you about that. We also have an alliance with Remnant Law. So if there are any breaches in liberty, they're a public interest law firm that uh, stands for and against breaches of liberty and your civil rights.
Wow. And is that would that be like nationally, or is that just locally or state, only for state? Oh, I think you froze.
It's nationally. We'd have to connect you with them, and um, you know, we are their largest client, uh, and so we have those contacts. We could point you in their direction.
Okay.
To share with you guys, I did not think about that earlier, but once you ask the question, and
Uh, your internet's freezing
of
up a
course,
little
I'm
bit.
super excited with anniversary of independence. I'm sorry,
Oh, there you go.
was I breaking up?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Am I back? Uh, I was just saying I'm super excited about. You gotta love technology. Am I back?
Yes. Now you are.
I'm back.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, great. Uh, I was just saying I'm really excited about that we're going to be celebrating our 250th anniversary of the Declaration. Uh,
Yes.
that is so exciting to me. I had the privilege of living in Boston, Massachusetts 50 years ago, and I learned more about American history in that one summer than I did all my years of education. And they did lots of reenactments, like the Battle of the Lexington Green, where the shot heard round the world happened, and Walk the
Yeah.
Path of Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, and it's just so amazing. Here in Corpus Christi, by the way, we are going to do a reading of the Declaration of Independence at Nueces County Courthouse Saturday, July 4th at 9 a.m. So if you're local, I encourage you to go out to that as well.
Oh, that's great. Will you also send me a flyer and I'll post that? Be sure to post that on my page for everybody.
Sure,
Awesome.
sure.
Yeah, that's good to know. So again, everybody who's in Nueces County, Corpus Christi, Texas, you live here locally, July 4th at what time again?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. And what's the location?
Nueces County Courthouse
At the courthouse.
on
9
Leopard. I think it's 901 Leopard.
We're going to be doing
I'm going by memory. So
the reading of the
yeah, that's where.
Declaration of Independence. That's awesome.
And I just put up here, if you want to get connected to us, you can scan this QR code, fill out the form, and I can reach back out to you and we can add you to our email list so that you stay up to date.
Yeah. Anybody who is, uh, again, maybe you've seen a lot of things that, you're wondering like, what can I do? I'm nobody, what can my voice doesn't make a difference. That's not true. So I want everyone to know that your voice absolutely matters. And there are ways that you can get involved. And one thing that I do love about this organization is, they do a lot of things locally to help impact or to help bring change to different things within the city. And so if you love your city, if you are advocate for people in your city, if you see things that need to be changed, this is the way to do it. You have to step out. You cannot be silent. You have to get involved. And so, this is a great way to get involved. And this is you guys are nonpartisan, right? So nonpartisan
Correct.
groups. So, so there is room for everyone who wants to see change. And, so this is the way to do it. You got to get involved in things so that you can see your local changes that bring citywide changes, that bring state changes, that bring national changes. But the only way to do that is for you to do something. So there's lots of opportunities to get involved. They've got a lot of different initiatives, which I love. Going onto their website, you can even just go on there and see what all they do and all they have. And again, get involved. Come to a meeting. If you've never been to a meeting, go to a meeting. I encourage you to go to a meeting and just see what they're about. And you'll learn so much. I promise you that. So I'm going to share.
Well,
I'll
our
share.
message call
Say that again. I'm sorry.
again. Sorry. I'm just stepping on your words.
No worries. I shared the website also on the screen as well. www.citizensdefendingfreedom.com. The topic from today was /fatherhood, to get right to the fatherhood campaign that they have, where you can get the fatherhood toolkit. But then also Mike has shared how to get in contact with them and with him directly. So before we wrap up, Mike, I know that there's a lot of other things that you're also involved in. Share with us a little bit about your the Patriot Academy, and how that works.
Well, we really believe that we've been doing this for about 5 years now, and you kind of learn as you go, because nobody's ever done what we've done before. And so we've got this process. We've been refining the process. We've pivoted, maneuvered, adjusted, adapted to the things that we see that are working. And as I mentioned earlier, we're in a spiritual war. And with as many Christians or people who claim to be Christians who aren't registered to vote, the answer to this spiritual battle lies within the church, lies within the Christian community. And it's important that we vote our values. So we have something that we refined into what's called a faith in action ministry or a faith in action group. And we've got a 4-part strategy to get everyone engaged. And part of that, if you want to start a faith in action group, is we can connect you with our biblical citizenship program that we partnered with Patriot Academy on, and show you how to do that and download it. And if you can launch that, that's a step in the right direction, because most of you've been Selena, you've been to one of my biblical citizenship uh,
Yes,
seminars, right?
it was great.
How much did you learn that you weren't taught in school?
Oh, so much. So much. And I think that too, what I really kind of like realized also is, so I'm glad you kind of said this too, is growing up in church, that's, that is the sad reality, is that it almost, it's that false message of separation of church and state. You don't get involved in those things. Like, that's for somebody else. That's not for you. And so going through that really also helped me see, like, wow, yeah, we definitely have to be involved.
Let me ask you a question. How much time do we have left on the
We have
podcast today?
about 17 minutes.
If you'd like, I could share some of that with you real quick
Yeah, sure.
about our Christian heritage and how
Yes.
we've kind of dropped the ball. Um, it's really crazy how far we have drifted. And I'm going to share my screen again
Yep.
and let me know when you can see it. And we'll just go through it real quick, because this is part of the process that we've not been taught. And, we've kind of been taught that we have to wait to see what the Supreme Court says.
Hmm.
So that's not true. Thomas Jefferson said it is every American's right and obligation to read and interpret the Constitution for himself, not to have somebody else tell us what it is. Here's a big question. When was the last time you read the United States Constitution?
Yeah.
But here's the problem. Because of our ignorance, we, the people, are being conditioned and misled by our elected representatives, the government, the education system, and the media.
Hmm.
And here's something that a lot of people don't know. The Supreme Court gives an opinion on what they think it relates to constitutionally. Did you know in 1803, Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court said all laws repugnant to the Constitution are null and void.
Well,
Well, we've got a lot of laws that are not in alignment with the Constitution, which makes them null and void. Bring it up to 1966, Miranda versus Arizona. A lot of us have heard the Miranda rights. We see it on TV. You have the right to remain silent and all of that. What it really says is where rights secured by the Constitution are involved, there can be no rulemaking or legislation that would abrogate them. But a lot of these things that people call laws or rules have no legal standing according to our Constitution. Constitution Day is observed on September 17th of each year to commemorate the signing of the Constitution, which happened in 1787. And once again, it's our right and obligation to read and interpret it for ourselves and to teach the rising generation. But here's some of the misinformation you get. If you go to the United States Supreme Court website right now, and you'll find this quote on there that's part truth and part fiction, because the United States has demonstrated an unprecedented determination to preserve and protect its written constitution, thereby providing the American experiment in democracy with the oldest written constitution still in force. Now, that is true. We have the oldest constitution still in force. uh, 1787, and the average constitution in countries across the world is 17 years. So we
Wow.
beat them by a long shot. But we are not a democracy. What if I told you that we're not a democracy? America is a constitutional republic. And the reality is, the Constitution of the United States is extremely dangerous to democracy. In Article 4, Section 4, it says, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government. So, right here, you saw it on Mythbusters. Uh, Benjamin Rush said, a simple democracy is one of the greatest of these evils. A democracy is a mobocracy. And the problem is, if you're not taught the truth, or if you reject the truth, then delusion enters. And then you believe the lie. And you act on the lie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you suffer high costs and consequences.
Yep.
That's pretty scary. And
Yeah.
here's one of the lies that you were referring to, Selena. The separation of church and state clause is quoted in the founding documents of the United States. That's a big fat lie. The truth is, it's not in any of our founding documents. It was in a letter written by Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists in January of 1802, because they were afraid that the government was going to dictate what religion you had to be a part of, just like it was in Great Britain. Here's another lie. The founding fathers and mothers of the United States were deists and atheists. The truth is, they were Christians who held a biblical worldview, and our founding documents were written from a biblical perspective. And actually, the American Revolution was born out of the church. Go back 26 years, back to 1750, before the Declaration of Independence. Reverend Jonathan Mayhew said, resistance to tyrants is obedience to God. Let us all learn to be free.
Mm.
And John Jay said, Providence has given to our people, he was the first Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Governor of New York, involved in our nation's founding. He said, Providence has given to our people the choice of their rulers, and it is the duty as well as the privilege and interest of our Christian nation to select and prefer Christians for their rulers. National prosperity can neither be obtained nor preserved without the favor of Providence. And the original 13 colonies, when you ran for office and you were sworn into office, you were swearing in. Part of that swearing in ceremony says, I believe in God the Father, God the Son, and the God the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
And that the Bible is the inerrant word of God. And then John Quincy Adams, he was a president, secretary of state, and congressman, said, duty is ours, the results are God's. So it's what I tell the people in the church. It's time to get off your booty and do your duty.
Right.
So the Geneva Bible, printed in 1599, faith without works is dead. So that's why we call it the Faith in Action Group. You got to put your faith in action by going and talking to the independent school district that you're in, or the city council, or the county jurisdiction, or even the state. I was in Austin earlier this week testifying before a Senate committee on the abortion bill. So we've got to get engaged, and Citizens Defending Freedom has those resources. So we're celebrating 250 years. It's very exciting. And, I can keep going. How much more time you got? You want me to be quiet? Is there anything
No,
you
you're
want to?
fine. You're fine. You're doing great. Tell us about the Patriot Academy.
Okay, well, we've got a process in place. If you connect to us through those QR codes that I showed you, we can show you how to start a faith in action group. We have we refined that, and we have a guidebook on how to act actually create these in your community. And part of that process and training is connecting you to the biblical citizenship resources so that you can start an 8-week biblical citizenship in your community or in your church. So all of that is we can line them out on that, on how to do that. It's kind of a big package to unpack in the remaining time that we've got.
And anyone from any state, again, can get engaged with this and do it in their city. Is that right?
The biblical citizenship, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
responsible fatherhood and, get engaged with getting the sexually explicit materials out of your children's school system. It's
Yeah,
horrific.
that's huge. Yeah, a lot of people didn't. I don't think people were really even aware of that was going on. Want to talk a little bit about that?
Um, well, we've got a few minutes. Yeah,
Yeah, because I
the
don't think a lot of people. I mean, I remember when we were really fighting against that here and locally, and I was sharing with another friend of mine who lives in another state, and they were just like, "What?" They had no clue.
Well, and if you get on our monthly calls, we do trainings on how you can audit your libraries. And the thing about it is just because you do it once doesn't mean it's done. This is a constant battle we have to fight. The enemy does not like, we've created a spiritual void in this country by falling asleep at the pulpit, the pew, and the polls. And unfortunately, the enemy's taken a lot of ground. And you would be appalled at the books that are in grade school libraries, uh, talking about rape and incest and homosexuality and all sorts of things that innocent minds do not need to be reading. In fact, they can't be read on the radio or on television. So why can they be read by grade schoolers and junior high and high school? It's just totally inappropriate. It would appall you. We've had people that have gone to the school board meetings in a room full of adults and have read out loud in the school district meeting during public comment what is written in that book. Their mics have been cut and they've been escorted out of the room by the police. So it's so out of it's so horrific. The adults don't want to hear it, but it's okay to be in your kid's library. Just
Right.
blows my mind.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane.
So I do want to show you real quick just one picture. That's me 50 years ago in Boston, Massachusetts, where I learned about American history. And thank goodness for you can see all the scratches on there. Thank goodness for AI because I was able to clean that up and then
Nice.
even make it easier to see. And then time travel back to 1775. So
Love that. That's great. I love that. That's awesome. Wow. Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking your time out today to share with us about the great things that Citizens for Freedom is doing, and especially, the campaign for the responsible fatherhood, making June the responsible fatherhood month, taking it from basically, from your local level to your state level, which is amazing. But everyone who wants to get involved, who can get involved, should get involved, especially if you are, I'm just going to say it this way, if you are involved in your church, you are any type of involvement in your local communities. This is a great way to ensure that fathers are stepping up to the plate, and that we're really not only just that, but seeing families restored. I mean, I think that is the goal. Also, is we want to see families restored. I know that they want to see families restored. That's the heart of the Father. That's the heart of God, is seeing families restored and being a nation once again where families are together. That's really important. And so, again, you can go to www.citizensdefendingfreedom.com, and I will get all of the QR codes, all of those things you shared, send them to me, and I'll post them, I'll repost them on my page. And again, locally, July the 4th, we're going to be at the Corpus Christi, you said the City Hall, or I'm sorry, what was it again? City Hall?
Nueces County Courthouse,
Courthouse, yep, at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Yes.
for the reading of the Constitution. So that would be
Declaration of
Declaration
Independence.
of Independence. Thank you. So yeah, so make sure you send me that flyer too. I'll post it as well for everybody. So anybody who wants to come and join, please come and join.
Okie
All right.
doke.
Well, thank you again, and we'll have to have you on again sometime. And I appreciate again all your time and for coming on and sharing with us. And I'll even put on there the next meeting so that people who want to come and see what you guys are doing and what you're all about, they can also come to the next Citizens Defending Freedom, because it will be hosted at my church, Harvest Tabernacle.
And you know the address.
I
So
do,
you
31 McCardle.
yeah, so
Yes.
that's going to be, I think it was July 21st, the
July
third
21st.
Tuesday of the third Tuesday of the month.
Awesome. And I'll
Yeah.
send me all of those details too, and I'll repost everything so everybody can know. All right. Well, thanks again,
Sounds
everybody.
great.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for joining. And you can always go back and watch the replay if you missed any of it. Share, like and share. Also, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Real Talk for Real Change. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.
Thanks, Elena.